This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Saints Pod. My name is Greg, and as always today, joined by my good friend, wonderful co-host, Zach. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just about alive in in this UK heatwave that has only just begun. I get there's a lot of people that really like this weather. I'm really, really happy for you. There's a couple of things I do like about this weather. For some reason, my hay fever gets better. That's always a massive win. But the fact that I just sit in like a melting pot is awful. I need to buy like 10 times the amount of fans or just get air conditioning. Sorry, that's very quintessentially British to just complain about the weather immediately.
It's all right, mate. I'm with you.
It's probably not going to be the first or last time this week.
I'm right there with you. Got a freezer full of Calippos and bottles of water, just trying to survive. You know, all the good stuff. But look, we had a bit of a loose week last week. We discussed that we're going to be slowing down when there's not stuff to talk about, but it's that's all right, mate, because we got stuff to talk about. We've seen things and we've seen stuff, and it's been a good few days of football, right? There's been some World Cup happening.
I've really enjoyed the World Cup. It's been better than I expected, but it does mean that occasionally I'm having to wake up in the morning feeling really tired because I've stayed up till 1 to watch the best game of all time last night with Cape Verde, right?
Yeah, Cape Verde were unbelievable. What a sensational performance! It was,
It was significantly better to watch than Iran versus Belgium, where once again the golden generation of Belgium continue to somehow not ever manage to score at major tournaments.
That was a really something and nothing game, right? With the red card and then just the inability to break down that defensive line. That was, some people like that type of football, mate. I'm sure that Mikel Arteta was loving every minute of that. It's like good long
for those people. Egypt finally won a World Cup game. Spain completely dismantled Saudi Arabia. And then you had, I don't know if you saw, Egypt managed to get their first World Cup win ever against one of the lowest ranked teams in the world in New Zealand. So, did you hear that? Did you hear about that? Who was the guy? It was the guy that got loads of people to that ground. That is a really terrible way to explain that, but didn't have a lot of fans. So a YouTuber organised getting a bunch of fans to go to a ground, made like a big day of it, right? He did a similar thing with like the tournament's lowest ranking player, who was like a defender for New Zealand, like massively, basically just did loads of exposure and built up his, social media and stuff before the tournament started. And yet still won't even be a drop in the ocean in comparison to the Cape Verde keeper. So, as you can tell, I've really enjoyed the World Cup so far.
It's been great.
It's been good. But then obviously England played and was good as well, which is what a win.
Yeah, look, I've even seen some stuff on social media today, Zach, where even the USA fans have upped their chant game. It's like 2 weeks of exposure to, Scotland and England fans and all of the other countries that have their crazy gambits and crazy atmosphere. And they're really putting together. They had a great song about Christian Pulisic and how he's managed to score with certain parts of his anatomy. It was good. It was a real
better than USA
10 out of 10 for improvement.
And me just being able to make my wife cringe by singing "Let's Go Canada." I also did see that they loved their game recently, and what they actually showed, I think, was a video of the New York men's choir, barbershop choir. So that was quite funny.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's been good. It's been good to watch some football. It's been good to see, Cole Aaron get on the score sheet in both of his games for Canada, as catastrophic as it was for the injury in that game.
Yeah.
But it's been quite nice. As I said, I would have cared more about Scotland, but Russia doesn't play for us anymore. However, if you believe some of the transfer rumours, apparently we're signing half of the Scottish players. So we'll have to see how that pans out.
Oh, we'll do, mate. Look, I know we talked. I haven't written this down on our show notes, so I'm going to throw this one in at you at left field. But
Yeah, sure.
I know we were talking before the World Cup about how it just doesn't matter and it's not important. And I feel like I need to repent and accept and acknowledge that, having witnessed my kids who are both of like primary school age have an absolute buzz about them, about the most ridiculous things, all to do with the World Cup, just because of schoolyard chatter and what they get to watch in the evening, and the fact that the school do their own little like sweepstake things. So to have my daughter come home and be like, "Can we watch the Uzbekistan game tonight? It's great having a game of football on every night." It's been really amazing to behold. And for those that, don't think about the importance of football, I watched on Saturday as I was making the mistake of trying to clear out a garden in the middle of a heat wave, but also stood there watching both kids trying to do their best to perfect the craft of the chest down, turn and volley, just like Kyle Larin did. So, these things, like, they're little things with big impacts, and I love that.
I think, to be clear, mate, for you as well, I wouldn't really say it was specifically no one cares about the World Cup. You don't care about international football in between. And I can kind of get that, because it is really hard to get hyped about a friendly between England and San Marino for like the 100th time that we're going to win 5-0.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, like they try and like make up like international division leagues to try and, I don't know, pad out the runtime of friendlies. But I think, like, yeah, the World Cup is different, and it does obviously the atmosphere that's made for it. And I think with this one, because of the fact that, like I think we were talking yesterday about one of the VIP packages from FIFA for like one of the American games or one of the games was ridiculous. So what's happened with this World Cup that, probably similar to Qatar, is like people have essentially created their own atmosphere and created their own narratives. And that's amazing also for the outreach of the sport. I'm having like people, like my wife, absolutely roar at the fact that most of Boston have cones on the heads of all their statues without any explanation as to why.
Fully embrace the Tartan Army. Like, even talks of genuinely twinning with Glasgow now and having one of these like screen portals in the middle of the town centre.
That'd be cool.
I also saw the funniest thing now that the Tartan Army's moved on to Miami, where it was a Scotland fan trying to put the code on the head of a statue and immediately getting shut down by the Florida police.
Well, yeah, but it's like even silly things like, everyone's seen the Mexican duck, and like I saw like a couple of Korean fans that were in Mexican shirts eating Mexican food, and kind of everybody embracing cultures and stuff. And really, what the World Cup is essentially all about, right? Which is essentially everybody just coming together and enjoying football, regardless of the controversy around it, and regardless of everybody's political beliefs or whatever. And that, like, I think that it's just a really, really fun spectacle. And I admit too, I was very skeptical because of all the build up to, in the run up to it, the fact that some of the games that I just literally can't watch because I'm not getting up at 3-4 in the morning. I can't live that way. So unfortunately, I'm having to catch up on highlights. But what we have been able to catch has been really, really enjoyable. And it's just, once again, it's like when the Olympics is on, right? It's really nice to just turn on the TV after work, and at some point there will be some level of football on. And it's usually to a good quality, or at least, and then you get all the kind of people writing their own stories and the narratives of it, especially like this year, obviously Cape Verde and Curacao being sort of big ones that are like making their mark, as everyone's aware of. But yeah, no, I do think, and obviously like everybody has like their World Cups that they remember. And like I still remember being at school and everybody coming in to watch England versus Brazil, right? And like being brought in really early and having like Teddy Sheringham in the lineup. Like that's how long ago it was. But somebody at school getting suspended for having the Ronaldo haircut where he was bald all over apart from the fringe, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, there was like at least 2 or 3 people from school that tried to replicate it. Amazing. And I think everybody has that. It is a very good way of introducing people to football. And I think that, it's, I don't know how I thought originally about, having it continue to being such a sort of expanded event, but I actually think that having some of the smaller nations and stuff has been really exciting, because there are definitely going to be teams that are going out that you'd have expected to go through, and there are going to be definitely teams of that knockout that you'd have thought would have gone out day one. So
yeah. I mean, Scotland are on par to qualify for the next round, so beating my expectations.
Well, maybe if they get they need to get something from Brazil,
something from Brazil, yeah. But yeah, no, it's been good. I'm really enjoying it. But look, it's not just been international football and World Cup. We are a Saints pod after all. There's been Saints stuff. For example, we have announced our first friendly, our first pre-season friendly. We are going to Germany for it. So I presume that implies that the rest of our pre-season camp and tour will be based around that visit to Germany. It would be strange for that not to be the case, right?
Well, it really depends, right? It makes sense to me that they're strengthening the links that Spurs and Eckert have in Germany and alongside German teams, and probably some of the scouting that we do out there. It kind of makes sense that you may as well just have everybody in the same place, right? You may as well have the entirety of the scouting department, if you were still want to call them the scouting department, the coaching staff and all the players, right?
Yeah,
it makes sense. It's nice that they're starting to kind of get that information finalised, and it's just nice to start to look forward to being a Saints fan again, right?
Yeah, well, look, there was a lot of talk last pre-season. If you can cast your mind back that far, even off the back of a fairly depressing Premier League season and obviously relegation, people were a bit upset and a bit miffed that all of their pre-season tour games were behind closed doors and they couldn't get tickets and go and support the team away from home. So clearly taking at least part of that lesson on board, getting the news of that out there ahead of time, because it's the 1st of August with a 3 p.m. kickoff, or 3 p.m. local time for them, so 2 p.m. over here, in the side of the Eagles. I'm not going to try and pronounce their German name. Preußen Münster from the Bundesliga 3, right? So I gave it a go. Apologies to any German fans listening. I tried. So yeah, it's good news for those fans that want to go and travel and watch the team away from home at that. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see as the other pre-season stuff starts to filter out. I don't know. Does it feel a bit like we're behind this year because of the whole end of season fiasco? Season tickets obviously were scheduled to be out earlier than they were, and now they're out. But I mean, don't we normally have a kit by now as well?
Yeah, but I'm not really too bothered by it because of the fact that we've had so much going on. World Cup has kept everybody busy. Season ticket news was a bit later. We've still got fixtures to come. I don't think it's really that we're behind. I just think that that's they need the necessary time, right? You've got to let all of the players that have clearly planned to get married this year during the off season get married and have a 2-week honeymoon before you kick off pre-season. I think we're starting to eat into that a little bit already, right? I think Jack Stevens is now engaged. That was news that I saw on Instagram. So it's there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. A lot of players just trying to have a bit of a relax. And I think that, obviously they've had to make a lot of changes because of all of the stuff that happened at the end of the season. So I don't really feel like we're behind as such, and I'd rather them still do things with due course than just rush it.
Yeah.
And so I don't really feel the same, to be perfectly honest. I think that it'll all come out in due time, and before we know it, it will be start of season again, won't it?
I suppose you're right. When you think about it, you'd rather have a decent kit launch with players that are actually going to be here rather than the awkward situation of a year's worth of someone in the kit hanging over the storefront who doesn't play for the club anymore.
Yeah,
James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, I was going to say, James Ward-Prowse and Chinos, right?
Yeah. Or even Will Smallbone was still in the pre-match video package for all of last season up until the very last game. So yeah, you're right. It's looking forward. Look, speaking of fixtures, obviously they're coming out later this week, and we'll be doing an episode about that. I just thought I'd ask you, mate, because it's an interesting one, really. Obviously, I love the fixture release day. I love sitting there and putting them all in the calendar and working it all out. And there's a few, in particular that I look forward to seeing when they're going to be. And I like to see where we're at on Boxing Day and when we get to travel to West Brom and all those things for my reasons. But what about you? Is there an excitement around fixture day to see what's what, or do you take the same approach as that kind of semi-viral Aston Villa tweet of can confirm we'll play all 19 teams home and away?
Yeah. Okay, we got the South Coast derbies, which are going to happen again because we've got another season together. We got the Nathan Jones derbies, which are always fun to watch, one way or the other. We've now got the Spygate derby, which, regardless of whether or not anyone says there isn't going to be a rivalry, both ends of that fixture are going to be, full on for both teams, right? Especially if, rumours are to be believed that Ross Stewart might go to Middlesbrough.
It's an extra bit of needle, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. So I think it is always fun. It's always fun to see when we play against the newly promoted teams. I always think that's always good fun. And same with the teams that come back from the Premier League. So I kind of disagree. I kind of like looking as and when we play each other and the kind of the flow of the season, right? Especially where we're like, well, that's an easy run of games that usually becomes the games that we win 1 out of 10. And then the games where we're like, oh, that's a really tough battle where we win like 7 points out of 9. And yeah, I don't really agree. Like, yes, we're playing each other every year, but I think that it's good fun to see when those things fall, especially like the South Coast derby, right? Because the last South Coast derby, we had I say the last one, the first leg, if you want to call it that was played at St Mary's. We had like a bunch of debutants, right? James Bree's first return from Charlton. It was like the first time Azaz got on the pitch. Like, I don't really, realistically, I'd like to look at him and think that, both teams have had enough time to have an exciting game rather than just before we've even finalised the score.
Yeah, they both fell at like really awkward times of the season, didn't they? It was a bit of a shame. I think that's partially why both of them were quite as kind of flat as they were, but we shall see, I suppose. But yeah, I love it. I love fixture day, but then I get excited about just about anything football related. That's why we do the show. Couple of other bits from the club and in around the club. I've just seen earlier today something the Saints website put out where 5 season ticket holders will have the cost of their season ticket paid back to them at some point next season. If you are renewing your season ticket as a thank you for the loyalty, you'll be entered into the prize draw and 5 winners will be selected at random to get the cost of their season ticket back. So that's nice, I suppose.
It's nice they didn't have to do it. So anything that's like a bonus. I know that we'd all realistically love them to just decrease the prices and make economic decisions that make everyone's lives easier, but also understand that they are also running a business. It's unfortunately it's just the way of the world. So whenever anything like that crops up is always nice.
Yeah, look, I'm down for a 5 out of 20,000 chance of having that covered. I'm there for it. I appreciate it.
But people still play Amaze in the lottery, mate. So at least this way, renewing your season ticket is the only entry requirement.
Yeah, that is very true. Likewise, from around the club, for anyone who may or may not be interested, the fan
advisory
board. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I looked at FAB and all I could think was Thunderbirds. The fan advisory board had 8 spots available as part of their process to get fresh fans involved every season. They have 4. It's a board of 12, but 4 of those slots go to the specific supporter groups, the disabled supporter group, the supporters association, the Rainbow Saints, and all of that stuff. But 8 places open on that where you can apply and go through their process if that is of interest to you. We've read through a couple of the minutes from their meetings here, and it's obviously interesting to be involved in the club and be an advocate of the club in that way, if that interests you.
Yeah, I think especially because obviously the problem is that realistically what people want is to be able to come in and be like, Russell Martin's bad, Todd the Ecker's tactics need to change. But obviously it's nothing to do with that. It's always going to be like, it's always going to be stuff outside the football, that affects probably the match day going experience and stuff. And I think, to be honest, I understand why that puts a lot of people off, because not a lot of people if you we've worked really hard this year to increase the availability of beer. That's great, happy days, but there's obviously a lot more to it than that. I'm not trying to completely diminish anyone's efforts, but it's one of those things where I think it's quite a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want to get out of it, right? Like if you're hoping that you're going to have like a voice at the footballing side of things, you're not.
No.
And I think I can see people's frustrations with being like, well, surely if you're asking fans' opinions about things, or you can all I can think of is that disastrous interview that Wolves did with their fan advisory boards, right? Where they were talking about, oh, please have faith in us, we're going to do better this year. I promise you, we're going to do everything better. And then they fired the manager, replaced him with some random Portuguese bloke, and then So I think the other thing is that you probably have to accept that not all of the advice that you give and all of the sort of opinions that you make clear to the club will be accepted.
Yeah. You are providing a voice that they will be able to take on board, and you are providing that voice. I think it's in a one meeting per quarter. I think it's 4 meetings across the year that they meet, but it does have on their page a list of the things that you can be involved in the conversations for, and that is the club's strategy and long-term vision, match day and non-match day supporter experiences, ticketing, access and accessibility, fan engagement and supporter behaviour, community activity, as well as equality, diversity and inclusion, club heritage matters, and environmental sustainability. So, nothing on the pitch, all of the off the pitch stuff. But if that is of interest to you, you've got until the 5th of July to get your applications in, and then they will go through it all, and it goes through, I believe, some kind of ballot. So, yeah, it's like you say, probably not everyone's cup of tea, but if you want to get involved in those particular ways, at least it's nice that you can have a voice to be heard.
Yeah, not every club does it, and not every club necessarily is going to care, and not every club is necessarily going to listen. I think that, despite the overall sort of arching message that most people have, which is supports Republic out, which I don't know, maybe that's a conversation for another point, but I think with what's happened another day, with everything that's happened recently, it almost seems like it's turned, and everyone's gone completely back towards siege mentality and loving Dragon Solid. But maybe I'm just reading fan sentiment wrong. That's worth having a discussion about at some point, maybe.
I think it's on shaky ground. You're right. We can get probably a whole podcast worth of discussion out of it, but I would say that its foundations are shaky, but it seems to be holding for the minute.
Yeah.
If, however, we don't start the season fast, might not be the case. So,
but that's obviously from a FAB perspective. Shout out to the people that have been on it already, and shout out to everyone who wants to apply and put the effort in for that. I don't know if it's something that I'd particularly be interested in. I struggle enough trying to manage my life as it is, especially around football, let alone also trying to think about something other than I say that like we don't run a daily podcast talking about Saints. I think that's probably why. I think if I talked about it anymore, I think I might just lose my mind. I need someone else.
That's it. And then, I guess last but not least, obviously, events happening in and around Saints. We had the first ever boxing match and boxing event at St Mary's at the weekend, which seemed to be all-round received as a pretty big success. Quite a lot of tickets sold. I sat and watched it on DAZN because it was on there, and I just couldn't. Unfortunately, was predisposed. So
I think that's one of the problems, right? Is that I know that Ryan Garner and his team heavily advertised it. I didn't really start seeing anything until about. I knew it was happening, but I didn't see any sort of hard push until the last kind of week. And by that point, we discussed in beforehand if it was going to get booked that me and you might go together. And then by the time we both sort of realised we've already got plans because we're hearing about it on the Wednesday. That's probably our fault, but it is one of those things that maybe they do need to get better at pushing those events, right? Because it seems like that did all of the pushing that.
There was awareness that it was happening. There was not a huge amount of awareness of when it was happening. It really crept up on me. So,
and on top of that, I think that a lot of people were really angry that the bar closed at like 9 p.m., which seems a bit
that's a
insane.
strange decision. Yeah,
Yeah,
I hadn't
well,
seen anything about that.
that seemed to be the entirety of the prevailing opinion. Greg is, hey, why would you have an event that's like probably like a big thing that a lot of people would like to drink at and enjoy their time at the bar before they watch the boxing, and then close the bar at a really early period of time. Like,
Yeah, but look, it's
lessons
their
learned, isn't it? It's the
yeah,
first
it's
time they've
their
done it.
first
So
event like that, and to be honest, we've seen with some of the other not Saints events that they have done that there are definitely teething issues that they've had. I distinctly remember a pitch invasion at a charity game where there was supposed to be a meet and greet, and then there wasn't a meet and greet, and everyone kicked off of something I went
I
to
think
with some
I think it's more
YouTubers.
that like traffic is bad on a match day. If you can double the
Mm,
capacity and double the amount of people, I feel like the place that St Mary's isn't exactly fantastic for like traffic
mm,
flow, and you'll know that. And like man, like
yeah,
we ended up having to we dropped off some family members and picked them up from one of the nights that take that. And honestly, it was just an absolute nightmare trying to like get in and out of the city.
mm,
And we spent most of our evening basically just. So to be fair, I watched about half the show by the time that,
yeah.
like, but
Well,
it's one of those things where those sort of teething issues are things that the club are going to have to deal with if they are going to start trying to make the stadium more commercially viable for other things.
yeah.
I don't think that's as much of a problem for a boxing event, and it was really nice that Ghana won it, and
Mm.
it was really good that it's kind of proved that it can be done in the future, and maybe we can use this sports stadium for more sport related activities in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if they, I know that they're sticking to doing it in the off season, right? And I'm sure that there's a huge amount of setup and stuff that goes into it. But if they can, work out what modernization needs to happen, that they can do these quick turnarounds like some of the other stadiums do, like Tottenham Hotspur and the London Stadium, right? They're designed in a way that it's easy on, easy off, so they can do football on a Saturday, gig on a Wednesday, football on a Saturday. They can work out that logistical problem and what modernisation needs to come in. The South doesn't really have, everyone this far south for things like that heads to London because it's only a couple of hours down the road. So that is a potential gap in the market. And yeah,
Well,
good for Ryan Garner to get the win. And, now there's potentially, now he's the interim champion. There'll either be an elevation fight, right, where he can get the world championship proper, or he'll be declared the world champion proper and then he can have a defense. And realistically speaking, those could be done there too. It's
yeah. Well, that's
huge potential.
it's one of these things like this is if this is what Sports Republic wanted to do in the first place, and they want to build up the area and they want to turn it into a commercially viable thing, and like actions speak louder than words, and this is technically an action, so we can't really complain too much. But
Mm,
you've got to wonder how much of it was pushed from their side as opposed to pull from Sports Republic. So just guess what happens in the future. But
yeah.
good stuff. That's where I'm at.
Still, yeah, it's good stuff. It's nice to see a variety of things happening at St Mary's and kind of proving its worth that way and almost working as a proof of concept, you'd think. I know that there was discussion about infrastructure and stuff, and that as part of the development plans for the surrounding area, potentially building a station by St Mary's for that rail line and having that as more accessible. So, these are all things that aren't going to happen overnight. So, it's interesting to speculate, but yeah. And as with all of these things, the most important thing, right? If it isn't of interest to you, at least it's not hurting, right? It's a benefit regardless. You don't have to go and watch the boxing in the same way that when the darts comes in the fan zone, you don't have to go and watch that if you don't want to. But if you want to, a nice night out, and all things that with these new set of rules coming in are going to help boost the club overall as well, which is exactly what we want. But yeah, good stuff. Great fight as well. Really enjoyed it. Huge win for Ghana. Brilliant. Really good stuff. And look, that's it. That's all we've got to talk about today, and all we've got time for anyway, mate. Not too bad. We'll be back tomorrow with some transfer news and transfer rumours. Plenty of that about as the window is open.
We are just going to call it Transfer Wednesday. I'll make an executive decision before Greg tries to use some sort of esoteric words that mean that no one can find our podcast or no one has any idea what we're talking about.
Transfer Window Wednesday. That was what we were going for, right?
That works. That works. I thought you were just going to shove it up as Window Wednesday, and I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to know what that means. I mean, that's not. To be clear, that's just to help out the backgroundy podcast stuff, as opposed to the fact that I genuinely don't believe that people would understand what Window Wednesday would mean for a football podcast. Wow, explaining myself today, mate.
Crazy. But look, that is all we've got time for. So let us know in the comments, in the socials, your thoughts. You want to see more other events at St Mary's, like the boxing, like the concerts, or just more football? Get back down to that. Let us know in the comments on socials. We are Daily Saints Pod everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, everywhere. Hit us up and let us know. We love hearing from you. Until tomorrow, though, everyone, have a wonderful day and do not suffer too much in the heat. Stay hydrated. But until then, have a great day. Bye.
This is the Daily Saints Pod with Zach and Greg. Gonna get a glass of water now.